The marble floors of Whitmore Enterprises gleamed like mirrors, so polished you could almost see the secrets of the men and women who walked across them. It was late, long past the hours when the boardroom echoed with arguments and deals. Now, only the sound of a mop gliding in careful, practiced strokes broke the silence.
Hector Morales, the janitor, moved quietly, his back bent not from the mop but from the years of carrying burdens no one ever saw. His uniform was worn but spotless. He believed in dignity, even in unseen work. His teenage daughter, Sophia, sat on a bench nearby with a sketchbook balanced on her knees. She often accompanied him on these late-night shifts, not because she had to, but because she wanted to.
Sophia was different. Curious in ways that frightened teachers and inspired strangers. She would stare at a machine, a clock, even a broken toy, and whisper, "I can solve it." And then, somehow, she would.
Tonight, as Hector hummed softly, Sophia's gaze drifted toward the corner office. The light was still on. That office belonged to Alexander Whitmore, the billionaire CEO, a man whose name carried both awe and intimidation. People said he had everything: money, cars, estates across oceans. But Sophia, in her quiet way, often noticed how shadows clung to him whenever he passed by, like invisible chains.
The sound of something shattering snapped her from her thoughts. It came from inside his office. Her father looked up, alarmed. "Stay here, Mija," Hector said, setting his mop aside. He wiped his hands nervously on his uniform, but before he could knock, the door swung open. Alexander Whitmore stood there, tie loosened, hair disheveled, eyes burning with the kind of frustration only failure can ignite. On the floor behind him lay a crystal tumbler, its pieces scattered like broken dreams. "Mr. Whitmore?" Hector's voice was cautious. "Is everything all right, sir?" The billionaire glanced at him, and for a brief second, his mask slipped. There was no arrogance, no pride, just anguish. He pressed a hand to his temple. "No, Morales, everything is not all right." Hector hesitated, unsure if he should retreat. That was when Sophia rose, her sketchbook hugged to her chest. She stepped forward, her voice small but steady. "I can solve it." The words hung in the air like an echo. Alexander blinked at her, stunned by the audacity of a girl barely 16. "Solve what?" he asked, his tone sharper than he intended.
Sophia tilted her head, studying him. "Whatever is breaking you from the inside. You look like you're staring at a puzzle, but one piece keeps slipping away."
For a moment, silence stretched. Then, instead of anger, a hollow laugh escaped him. "You think you can solve a problem that's tearing apart a billion-dollar company? A child?" Her father interjected quickly. "Forgive her, sir. She just likes fixing things." But Alexander's eyes, bloodshot and tired, didn't leave hers. There was something piercing in the way she looked at him, as though she could see beyond the sharp suits and headlines, straight into the jagged cracks of his heart. Against every instinct that told him to dismiss her, he muttered, "Fine. Come inside then. Maybe you'll see something I don't." The office smelled faintly of leather and whiskey. Papers covered the desk in disarray: financial charts, product designs, projections, and reports with too many red numbers.
Alexander collapsed into his chair, gesturing helplessly at the chaos. "We've spent 2 years developing a medical device that could save thousands of lives. Investors are breathing down my neck. Engineers, analysts, everyone says it should work, but the trials keep failing. I've poured everything into this, and it's slipping away. If I lose this, I'm not just losing money. I'm failing people who believed in me."
Sophia set her sketchbook down and carefully sifted through the papers. Her fingers moved quickly, her eyes scanning the details. To her father's horror, she even grabbed a pen and began scribbling notes in the margins. "Sir, please," Hector pleaded, sweat prickling his forehead. "She doesn't mean any harm." But Alexander raised a hand to silence him, curiosity flickering. "Let her." Sophia pointed at a diagram. "This valve here, it's designed to regulate pressure, right?" "Yes," Alexander said, leaning forward. "Your team used a standard titanium alloy, but look," she tapped the failure rates in the data logs. "Every time pressure peaks above threshold, the alloy microfractures. It's not failing randomly. It's failing predictably." His breath hitched. He had looked at those numbers 100 times, but never in that way. "So you're saying?" "You're missing the material science part," Sophia continued, her tone calm but sure. You need a composite with flexibility, not just strength. A polymer blend reinforced with graphene could hold. And it's lighter, too. Alexander stared at her as if she had spoken a language no one else dared to. Graphene composites, my R&D chief dismissed it as too experimental. Sometimes, Sophia whispered, the piece you're missing is the one you thought was too small to matter. The room felt different now, charged with something electric. Hector's mouth hung open. He wanted to scold his daughter for overstepping, but pride swelled in his chest so fiercely it almost choked him. Alexander pushed back from the desk, pacing. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from possibility. If you're right, this could save the project. It could save everything. He turned, his eyes wet but blazing with hope. How did you even? Sophia shrugged softly. I just see things. Like puzzles waiting to be solved. And in that moment, Alexander Whitmore, a man who had built empires and broken rivals, felt something he hadn't in years, faith. Days turned into weeks. The suggestion was tested, and every trial confirmed what Sophia had seen. The valve held. Investors who had been pulling out returned. Doctors who had lost hope began to dream again. But more than that, something shifted in Alexander. He began noticing the janitor and his daughter more. He saw Hector's quiet dignity, the way he polished the world for others without asking for thanks. He saw Sophia's brilliance, her hunger not for wealth but for meaning. One evening, after another successful round of testing, he invited them both into his office again. The papers were neat this time, the air lighter.
You didn't just save a device, he told Sophia. His voice was steady, but his eyes shimmered. You saved me from drowning in my own blindness. He looked at Hector. You raised a remarkable daughter.
Hector lowered his gaze, overcome. She's all I have, sir. Her mother, she passed when Sophia was little. I just try to keep her safe. Alexander's throat tightened. He thought of his own childhood, of the cold mansion where nannies replaced parents. And you've given her more than safety. You've given her vision. Sophia smiled shyly. I just want to help people, to fix things that are broken. Alexander leaned closer. Then maybe it's time the world saw what you can do. And so it began, not with a press release or cameras, but with a quiet scholarship letter signed by Alexander Whitmore himself. Sophia was offered entry into one of the country's most prestigious engineering programs, fully funded. Not because she was a janitor's daughter, not because of pity, but because she had earned it. Hector wept that night, holding the letter in trembling hands, whispering prayers of gratitude in Spanish. But Sophia only looked out the window at the city lights and whispered the same words she always did when faced with a puzzle. I can solve it. And this time, she wasn't just talking about a device or a problem. She was talking about the world.